Hey, welcome to the Gig Life Podcast. I'm your host, Stevie Taylor. Just quickly before we rip into this episode, if you dig this podcast, please leave a 5-star review in your app or wherever you listen to this podcast. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook, subscribe and click the notification bells. There's heaps coming up, so you don't want to miss a thing. Leave a one-off tip or a donation if you dig. All links in the show notes or at thegiglifepodcast.com. Right, well, my guest today is Marcel Yammouni. Marcel is a guitarist, bass player, songwriter, producer, and audio engineer from Melbourne. He has a new album out called Essential Arteries, which he wrote and recorded and produced during the Melbourne lockdowns. And I've got to say, it's pretty bloody awesome, eh? He's world-class, man. I've been a fan of Marcel's music for quite a while, and we've also been talking over social media for quite a while as well, so it was cool to actually sit down and hang out and have a chat. This is episode 131, and I hope you enjoy my conversation with Marcel Yammouni. I think we're rolling. Captain Vibe, Mr. Fusion, Marcel Yamounni. How you going, man?
Actually, it's Fusion Boy, according to Phil Sobrano. That's
Fusion Boy. He told me that too, and I just fucked it up.
Off to a great start. Well done. No, yeah, Fusion Boy. He does it with a real stern kind of, Fusion Boy.
Yeah, right. That's cool. How did he come up with that name?
Because I'm Fusion Boy.
Yeah.
That's probably it.
Yeah.
You'd have to ask him, but I think we were just on the road together, and I think we were having one of those after gig kind of low budget gig where we actually had to share a room, not a bed, just a room. But he was in the other room. He was in the other bed even. And Phil, when he starts improvising, his comedic talents really shine. So, so he was just making up a character and, based around me, Fusion Boy. I think it might go, my first album's kind of got a little bit of that vibe about it.
Yeah.
Choppy, bit sort of, rock fusion. Yeah. I was always into that stuff kind of growing up. I loved it because it was playing. People were playing,
right?
And I've always been an oddball in that regards. Never sort of sat with everybody else. Always kind of went off and did my own thing.
Yeah, so, I don't think that's an oddball thing. I think that's the mark of a brilliant artist, I guess. That's my
well, we
take
found
on
our tribe, didn't we? Like we're all into it now. Everyone like. But yeah, I sort of grew up in the northern suburbs of Melbourne. And, it was, if it wasn't rock or, pop or, something kind of, I won't say basic, but, not as complex, not as hard to digest sometimes as fusion can be, because, cascade of notes and chords and rhythms and all that stuff. I was always just drawn to it. I loved it. So my first album has a lot of that kind of feeling about it. But mind you, the first album I probably started writing it when I was 17 and finished when I was 34, and
so
it's been 10 years.
2007 that came out, eh? Was that right? Did I read that right?
2010.
Oh, 2010. Okay.
Yeah, 2010 I launched it, and actually launched it with a band, the whole bit.
Right.
Whereas this new album I've got out, because it was done in lockdown.
Yeah.
So I pretty much did everything myself, mixing, mastering, the whole bit. I've got my fiance, funnily enough, she's helping me with the visual side of it. She's really good. She's really clever. She's coming up with all these little 10-second, 30-second little videos that go with the music because, for me, it's an afterthought.
Yeah.
That stuff. And that's probably why, it probably does belong with visuals. That's kind of what I'm learning about this new album is that, visuals kind of help with it too. It kind of helps tell the story, unless you can really just kind of sit down, put some headphones on, and
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I've done with it.
Oh, great!
And one of the things I've got written down here, I'm just because I've been listening to it on Apple Music, and Apple, when you're uploading your stuff to whoever your provider is to send out to Spotify and all that sort of stuff, you have to label it, right? And you've got your album labeled as electronic.
Yeah.
Right. And then you listen to a song like Amber Lynn.
Yeah, no, that's right.
And that's so far from electronic. So
well, there's an electronic bit in the middle.
Oh, right, okay.
Not to give away the story, but
yeah.
They kind of halfway through it you go into a bit of a trance rave kind of.
Right.
But yeah, I know what you mean. Like, so I probably did like maybe 3 or 4, 5 tracks that are kind of more in that electronic kind of vein.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's weird because they don't give you it's a pretty eclectic kind of selection of songs, hence why the first album is called Eclecticity. It's the same sort of thing.
Yep.
Even though the first album was probably more in the one sort of category of being progressive rock, fusion, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
This one sort of, it's the other side. It's the other side of what I do. It's kind of like my siblings. I'm the youngest of 4 siblings, and so my eldest brother's the guitar guru around Melbourne. Most people know him as a guitar repairer and all that stuff. But he was literally the first music teacher I ever had. Like he's a guitar player himself, and he sings, and a lot of people don't know that about him. So I'm heavily influenced by what he listened to. But my middle brother David, he was into like Jean-Michel Jarre, Tangerine Dream, Kraftwerk, and Giorgio Moroder, and the list goes on. All this sort of ambient, sort of synth-driven stuff. So we always had synths in our house. Like if we'd kept the synths that we owned, we'd probably we'd be really rich because they're all like unobtainable now. That's like like what they call them, Prophet 5s and like Moog, whatever you say, potato.
So with the synths that you had, did you have the modular type synths where you had to get the lead and connect to the different module?
Not those.
Not that far?
Yep. No. These were keyboards.
Yep.
And I'm not sure if we got cut off, but I was telling you about of the keyboard that my brother actually gave me when I was 8 years old is an SH-101, which is an arpeggiator, and it uses CV and gate technology, not MIDI, pre-MIDI, right?
Right.
So I was like 8 years old. He gave me this. He goes, "Oh yeah, I just used it for sequencing."
Right.
And now they're like fetching $3,000-$4,000.
Yeah,
what I mean?
right.
And I used it on one of my songs, funnily enough.
Right.
Just as it doesn't have any MIDI, so you got to kind of really manipulate it to kind of get it in time, and then play what you got to do, and then maybe shift a few things. Yeah. With the waveforms and all that. But yeah, it's this. Nothing quite sounds like that old stuff. It's really.
Yep.
I mean, I'm an advocate for valve amplifiers and guitars and whole but oddly with this album I didn't mic one cabinet.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I used I've got a 2 Notes Torpedo, which is like a cabinet simulator.
Yep. And
load box. So I run my Marshall through that, and then nerd shit, but
I get it.
But but a lot of the stuff, a lot of the guitar sounds, bass sounds, everything that you hear is all quotation fingers.
Yeah.
Synthetic.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they're getting so good with this stuff now.
Absolutely. The rhythm guitar sounds on the album are fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I used to have a well, I've probably still got it, but I haven't opened it for years. It was like a Stratocaster, like a funk. It ran with Native Instruments.
Oh yeah,
I can't remember the name of it now, but
Guitar Rig.
Yeah, no, it wasn't Guitar Rig. It was oh shit, I wish I remember what it was called. But you could play it off MIDI, and it would play a rhythm guitar pattern, a funk guitar pattern. If you,
it plays it for you.
it plays it for you, yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. So that's what I used to do. But then hearing your stuff and you're actually playing it, and also I've seen the videos too of you playing that stuff, and you're a brilliant rhythm guitarist. Awesome.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
cool.
The funk stuff's interesting because it's just direct in, like it's a DI in, and then I manipulate it afterwards.
Right.
That's kind of it. It's very quick and immediate.
Yep.
So you compress it, you put chorus on it, you widen it a little bit, and then you sort of play your plunky parts. And so even that, like that's about as direct as it gets, literally.
Right.
Like straight in.
Right. Do you have an idea when you're going into a song? I mean, after you've done your experimentation of a song, when it's time to record, are you pretty much set on the sound that you want for that particular part, or?
I'm never set.
Never set. Okay, so
it's a moving target every time.
Yep.
So a lot of the times, and especially with this album that's out, like the sound actually dictates what I'm going to play.
Okay.
So whether it's the guitar sound or whether, like, I'll have an idea with guitars and stuff. I'll have an idea. It needs a funky Prince style kind of rhythm thing, right, in the left channel, and then I need something counter that on the right channel.
Yep.
But I'll go for two completely different sounds. So I might do that direct in sound, and then I might do a small amplifier Telecaster bridge pickup thing, and then compress it later.
Yeah.
And then you get them both sitting left and right, not hard left and right, just sort of maybe halfway or quarter of a way, whatever it is.
Yeah.
On each side, and then you kind of have this nice big spatial thing, rhythm coming at you, kind of thing. I used to do almost like a double mono part, like you'd play the same part on the left as you would on the right.
Right.
But I mean, I do that for a lot of sessions for people who, want things to sound big and wide, kind of the cheapest way to get that sort of effect going. But I actually find it a bit more interesting to get the sound that you want, play it in.
Yeah.
I still manipulate it a bit later on, like, EQ or compression or, something spatial, like either a modulation or a delay or something like that to kind of keep it sometimes to help it sit in the mix so it's not so dry.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I do overthink things a lot too, but then at the end of the day when it gets down to it, I just play. You know?
Just going back to what you just said earlier about sometimes the sound will dictate what you play.
Yep.
That song, the last song on the album, Spacing.
Yep.
That's almost one of those things, right? Because it sounds like you've got this, it's this big, full ding, 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 almost a Pink Floyd-y sort of sound, right? And you just could never get away with playing something fairly fast. It would just get lost, So was that one of those? Was that one of those times where you maybe sort of pulled that sound and went, I'm only going. It's almost just like whole notes or one note for two bars, or it's massive. Yeah,
it's more textures than playing, if you will. Yep. Again, quotation fingers. There's two tracks on this album that are like that. There's one called A DM to DM.
Yep.
And then there's Spacing, which is the last one. Yep. Now, A DM to DM was the first attempt at doing this. So I actually bought a couple of really nice sort of pedals made by Strymon. One's called the Volante, the other one's called the Night Sky. And the Night Sky gives you that real washy, atmospheric-y, synthy pad kind of sound. And then the Volante is like a tape delay. And you can set the repeats to kind of go on. So like you said, you hit one note and it echoes for, 5 seconds. So there's not much you can do in that 5 seconds other than stay out of its way. So it's kind of letting the gear do the talking, but you're still driving it. So a DM to DM, that one, is an improvisation. So from start to finish, like, and then I added fretless bass and I added like a rhythm afterwards. But I was channeling a friend of mine who passed away a few months ago, and it sounds odd, but I was really in the zone where I was really thinking about this guy a lot, and what had happened.
Now because I know who you're talking about, and now I get the name of the song. How you come up with the name of that song? Awesome, that's cool, man. Goosebumps.
Oh, yeah. Look, thank you. Yeah, look, it was, and I was really meditating on him. You know what I mean? I was really just I had him in my thoughts, and I was in my room. I'm in this room, and I had the guitar, had the pedals, had the volume pedal to get rid of any anomalies. You can kind of play and then take the volume out of the guitar to let the space go. And then you got like looping kind of drone functions and all that sort of stuff. So I literally just improvised that piece start to finish. And then I was almost going to leave it like that, but then I just went, no, I think it deserves to be supported by a little bit of fretless bass, which I did. And then just a simple kind of almost a heartbeat of a rhythm underneath, little sub kick kind of thing. So, yeah, and then so that happened, and then I decided I needed a 10th track for the record, and I was trying to come up with something big, and I really wanted to get this record out. Like I put all this stuff up on TuneCore, whatever it is that, the mediator between you and the streaming platforms. They asked for a month, so I put it up, sort of mid-December. And it was sort of early December and I needed another track. And so I decided to go for it again. So that last track is Spacing, but I used a baritone electric that's tuned to fourth lower than a regular guitar. So it's got a nice in-between bass and guitar kind of sound. So it worked a treat with those very same pedals that I used on the previous track. So, yeah, and you can it's funny. You could really kind of go off into the stratosphere. You know what I mean?
I know.
Your mind can. I can do it for like half an hour without stopping and just, it's that kind of sound. But yeah, I concise everything down to 4 or 5 minutes. With most things that I write.
That's cool.
I don't want to ask for your attention like any more than absolutely,
I appreciate you bringing out an album that's more than 40 minutes long, or half an hour even, because it's this is about 49 minutes long, I think, this album. And the reason I say that is, there's been some mainstream stuff that's come out lately, and I was really looking forward to the Silk Sonic album coming out, and fantastic album, Anderson .Paak and Bruno Mars.
Yeah, great. Awesome.
It's only 29 minutes long.
Yeah.
Well, I'm like, what? I was so disappointed, So I've kind of been secretly judging people that bring out music now, and anything that's over 35 minutes, you're winning.
Oh, good. Oh, that's value for money.
Yeah, for sure. Can I just hit play on
please,
on Spacing and
Sure.
Yeah, and then let's have a bit of a listen to it.
No worries.
So I'm not going to give it all away. People can go listen to it, but that's the kind of stuff. Now, people listen to that in headphones, and it'll just blow you away. And okay, and going back to what I was saying before about how you have to sort of, put it in the category, and I mentioned that song Amber Lynn, but you said it's got the electronic bit in the middle. But the first thing you hear is this. How'd you come up with that one? Where did Amber Lynn come from?
It's funny. All right, so the title, it came from, I was watching in lockdown once again. I was watching a lot of Netflix and whatever was on TV, like streaming platforms. And I got into the Tudors, which is basically King Henry VIII. And he had, however many wives, 5 or 6 wives. I can't remember exactly. But one of them was Anne Boleyn, right? And I just kept, because it kept rolled off the tongue as Anne Boleyn. I thought they were saying Amber Lynn, right? And then not realizing that later on, like, no, it's Anne Boleyn, not Anne Boleyn. And then I found out, and I swear I found out later on, after I titled it and the whole bit, that Anne Boleyn is actually a porn star. Amber Lynn, right? So yeah, you can look that one up on. She's an '80s porn star. So right. I don't know. It's still
hang on, give me a sec. I'm just kidding.
Just a sec. Yeah, no worries. Yeah. So all right. So how I came up with it, I had a mate of mine who I was kind of collaborating with. We were doing these 1-minute kind of jams and putting little videos together because we couldn't go anywhere, we couldn't do anything.
Yep.
And it seemed to be all the rage at the time. I got sick of it pretty quickly doing these ISO jams, they were called.
Okay.
And I say were called because we don't need to do them anymore. We can all hang out, sort of.
Yep.
But yeah, so and I my buddy wanted to do another one, and I wrote that piece. And I sent it to him, and I programmed the drums, very quickly and did all that sort of stuff, and then sent it off. And all of a sudden, he was like, I'm too busy. I can't do that. And I'm like, oh, really? Busy doing what? What are you busy doing? But I think he shit himself a little bit because it's quite technical. He would have crushed it. Right. This guy would have absolutely killed it. But yeah, so I kind of went, oh, all right, well, you know what? I've written it now. We're in lockdown. So I actually released it on Bandcamp first without the techno bit that's in the middle. And that evolved a bit later on. I remember I was listening to it and I went, I think it just needs another section to kind of just give everyone a break from the ferocity of, rhythm metal guitars, So yeah, I put that little bit in the middle, which I think works. I hope it does. I don't know, Steve. You're gonna have to tell me if it works. But
well, I think it works. So listeners, go have a listen and let us know if it works.
Let's know if it works.
Let us know if it works. We can always change it. No, we can't.
Well, I could always release another version with
a remix.
There's a version without it, so you can always go back to that.
Okay.
So there's a version on Bandcamp. So Bandcamp was another thing that I discovered during lockdown. I didn't know about it beforehand.
Oh, right. Okay.
It's actually the best for the artist.
Absolutely.
Bandcamp. Like, if you actually want to support an artist, go and buy their music on Bandcamp because they actually get quite a significant chunk of it. Not that it's not why I released this record anyway. I look at this record as a bit of a business card for me as well. Not I'm trying to drum up business, but it's kind of like, this is what I can do. I'm not just a guitar player or a bass player or I'm a composer. I can mix your albums. I can, produce, master, mix, whatever you want. You know what I mean? Sort of, I've always been interested in that side of the music game the behind the scenes stuff.
Yep.
I've always been fascinated by that. It's all about gear and twiddling knobs to get sounds and, mucking around with plugins and moving microphones and what have you. So yeah, bit of a geek in that regard. So I've always been into that sort of stuff. That's probably why I didn't get that good at playing the instrument. I spent a lot of time with sound and, composing as well. So
whoever said that you're not good at playing the instrument? You sound pretty bloody good to me, and everyone I've talked to about you also think the same thing. So
maybe I could have gotten better. I don't know.
A little bit too humble there, my friend.
Oh yeah, maybe too humble.
Let's all right. Let's go back to because the what usually happens in the podcast is there's like we talk about history and that kind of stuff, and then talk about music and albums and stuff. But we've done this in complete reverse, and I think it's kind of cool because it's got me on my toes, right?
You're out of your comfort zone. Nice.
Yeah. So let's roll back now.
Sure.
And because I'm interested to know, I mean, you did briefly talk about your brothers and their sort of musical influence.
Yep.
I'd like to go a little bit further back. Talk about your how music sort of came into your family and how you started playing, and then how you got into the production thing.
Yeah, sure.
And then that'll sort of get us to where we are now.
Yeah, no, you're right. We've put the cart before the horse. So all right. So yeah, come from a musical family in the sense that both my brothers are musical. Mm-hmm. My brother Joe's the eldest, and he's a guitar player, singer, songwriter. He was a heavy influence in the early days with the actual instrument. And so I used to go, when I got to about 12, 13 years of age, I used to go and watch him play at pubs, and, dreams and aspirations just started there. It's like, oh, I would love to be in a band, I'd love to be in that band even, So what was funny was probably not even a year or two later, I was in that band.
Oh, cool.
Because they needed a bass player. I'm a guitar player, but they needed a bass player. And they had in the 90s, it was hard finding, good bass players that could kind of do it. So they thought, well, why don't we invest a bit of time into little Marcel? And so I didn't even own a bass or own a bass rig. We used to hire. We borrowed a bass, and we used to hire a rig to go and do rehearsals and gigs. And I don't think I got a bass until I was about 16, which my brother bought me, which I still have. Fender Precision, classic sound. So that's how the actual playing side of it started. But when my other brother used to live with us, we always had a music room, and that music room had the synths that we were talking about earlier. And it had sequences, and it had a 4-track, and we had a SMPTE time code thing that you could link the 4-track to the sequencer. So I learned how to do all that stuff through my brother Dave. And then he moved out, and then he took a whole bunch of stuff with him. And then I had to sort of come up with my own gear. So then the next thing I got was, he left me some gear. So he left me a DAT machine, and what would happen is I would record onto the DAT machine, and then I would play. We'd have 2 DAT machines actually. I'd record off one DAT machine, and then I'd play the part live, and then grab the tape, chuck it back into the playing one, then hit record on the next bit of tape. So like multi-tracking, but the long way around. This is before computers were kind of. I go back, but it was before computers started doing that stuff. Then gradually just built the rig. I actually got a couple of TV commercials early on in my studio career that I did with exactly that, playing stuff, recording stuff onto the DAT, then playing a part on the DAT, and then making sure it was mixed. And, you couldn't go back, it was like almost like what the Beatles did,
right,
with their 4 tracks, but nowhere near as good, of course. But it was that's how the technology part of it started. So heavily influenced by both of them. And then funnily enough, my sister's 5 years older than me, so we were both MTV generation.
Okay.
So we loved all our pop music of that time, NXS, Mr. Mister. So all those influences have kind of been floating around my whole life, and I think they're more evident in this latest release than maybe the first album I did. You know, so you can hear kind of the synth element, and you can hear, you know, programming and, you know, like synth bass, but with like an electric bass doing a bass pluck over the top kind of thing. You know? Finding little spots and stuff like that. So I've always been into that kind of music. So yeah, it's come out now.
That's cool. Now I just want to mention the first time I ever heard of you, right? And it was this song.
All right.
So the first time I heard that song, and to be fair, I can't remember exactly where. It might have been something on Facebook, and I went, "Who are these badasses? This is awesome!" So, of course, I found out who played on the album, and you play bass on that, and
on half of it. So yep. I'm about to ruin the illusion here, but
okay.
So that particular track, I mean, I played it live 1,000 times.
Okay.
And I probably altered it to my own style, but that's actually Jason Hira.
Really?
Bass. Yeah.
All right. Well, I thought that was you. So I've got the wrong guy. I've got the wrong guy here tonight. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, go find Jason.
No.
Jason, funnily enough, and again, I keep talking about this new album. Sorry, but he's the only other musician on this new album.
Okay, right.
Is it? Yeah, like he played drums on one of the tracks called Lebo, and but what people don't know about Jason, apart from his incredible drumming and singing, he's actually a really great bass player, and that bass part is a really great example of that. It's exactly what that track needs.
Absolutely.
And it's so lyrical, and it was a pleasure to play. That was a fun band to be in, actually.
Yeah.
I got to do Glastonbury with that band.
Oh wow!
Yeah, we got to do quite a number of really cool things. But that was actually around the same time that I released my album. So I think I released mine first, and then Electric Empire released it a few months later.
Right.
That record. So we're working on that record, and we're working on my record at the same time. So Jason's always kind of been a special guest, if you will. On
cool.
You know, I do. We still kind of work on each other's tracks every now and then. He's in Mauritius now.
Okay.
So yeah.
Right.
So sorry, ruined the illusion.
No,
there.
You haven't really, because I think it was more of the first time I'd heard of you, first time you came onto my radar. So that illusion hasn't been shattered.
I'm on half the record. Yeah. So you know,
because when I found out who played on it, I just saw your name there, and I think that's when I probably started looking you up, and then videos were popping up, and you were playing with that red bass.
That's right. Yeah.
Is that the precision bass you were telling me about?
No, that's another one. That's another one. I
Yeah.
got that one in 2009.
Right, is that the Pinot? Is that a Pinot bass?
It looks like one.
Looks like
it's actually it's a Mexican made road worn. So it's a series that Fender kind of had.
Yeah.
That was probably the first of the road worn basses, and it's based off a 62 Jazz, and it sounds beautiful. I mean, I changed the pickups on that, and I had some wiring done, but I don't think it had even really needed it. It sounded good before I messed around with it. Now, when you're thinking small increments, like 5% increments, what I did to that bass probably has improved the sound of it considerably. But yeah, it had flat wounds on it for a little while, but this was after Electric Empire. But yeah, I got that one, around the same time. Yeah, it was the mainstay live. That was a really good bass to use live.
Yeah.
Cut through nicely, stylistically with the music too.
Yeah. So, like after you're playing, playing bass with your brothers, how did the career start to change from there?
Yeah. So, interesting thing. My mother, who sadly she passed away quite a few years ago now, but she had an aneurysm rupture in her brain, and she basically needed 24-hour-a-day care. So my brother sort of put his career on hold and looked after her. So I was kind of left in this, okay, well, I can pretty much do whatever I want now. Like I wanted to be in a band, and I always thought that was it for me, like especially being in my brother's band, which was like big deal for me. Because it was a rock band, it was originals. We were getting out there, we were slogging it, we were hopping in, the Bedford van and driving up to Swan Hill and doing a show and getting $100 and coming. You know what I mean? Like all the horror stories, but like, well, I was loving it. I was in my element. I was just having a ball, playing music. But then so I actually didn't know if I was any good until I kind of got to year 12, and I did like VCE music, and I'm going to boast a little bit now. So here we go. I got an A+ for my solo.
Say that again.
An A+. I got an A+.
Get right into the mic. Say that.
Oh, sorry. I got an A+ for
A+.
Okay. Yeah, for my solo performance on bass. Okay. So I would have thought that would have got me into any kind of course that I wanted to. I applied for the, what are they called? Victorian College of the Arts, VCA, and I got rejected from there. But what that did essentially was get me in touch with NMIT at the time, which is now called Melbourne Polytechnic. But back then it was TAFE College. And I sort of joined TAFE about 3 weeks into the year. And I was writing my own music and doing all that sort of stuff, but I was on my own at this point. Like, Joe wasn't doing music, and the band had kind of disbanded as a result. You can't sort of have a band without a lead singer, right? But which is ironic because all my music's instrumental. Hang on one second. I'm just going to take a water.
All good.
Yeah, so I ended up at Melbourne. NMIT, doing the TAFE thing for a few years. I wasn't good. I wasn't a good student, but I made friends with the teachers and a lot of the students there, and to this day I still see quite a few of them, and I still go and visit, and sometimes even do little talks to current students about the path that I took and all that stuff. And then, so I did that course as a bass player. So it was kind of a bit of a flip around, So depending on when you met me determines what you think I play as far as an instrument goes. So if you met me during the Electric Empire era, you would think I was a bass player. If you met me at TAFE, you'd think I was a bass player. If you meet me now, you'll think I'm a guitar player or whatever. I mean, I had a stint with Vanessa Amorossi for about 7 years as well, touring the world with her.
Playing guitar, right? Okay.
Yeah. So, depending on when you met me, determines what instrument you know me for. But so I studied bass pretty much, and I was right into it. And I was, and then everything kind of developed from there, because from TAFE I kind of moved into playing as a sideman for a lot of different bands over the years, and slogging away in the covers and the originals. And I'd always try and put my own thing out there as well. Like I always had some kind of with me, it was an instrumental thing because I can't sing, but although, I can sing, but I choose not to. But yeah, so it just evolved from there, evolved from the TAFE college, and, you meet your network of friends and colleagues, and then so on and so on. You just go through the scene and, eventually meet just about everyone. I mean, there's always new people to meet, but yeah, I've been very blessed. I've played with a lot of really, really great musicians and artists over the years.
Yep.
Very lucky.
You mentioned touring the world with Vanessa Amorosi. Now, what's your take on world touring? Would you rather be where you are producing records, making your own music, or touring the world?
For me, the ultimate would be a balance of both.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you could ever kind of work out. I think that's why always being in a band, it kind of appealed to me, because you kind of, you slog it out in the studio, then you get a little bit of cabin fever, and you want to get out there and see how your material works live in front of an audience, With Vanessa, I mean, I was the sideman, so we wrote songs together, and I even got a couple of songs on an album, of hers, but ultimately I was her, the sideman, the guitar player. Yep. And with that, you're pretty much at the beck and call of whatever decision she makes and her management make and all that stuff. So it may not always kind of fall in line with your hopes, dreams, and aspirations, but I had a lot of fun.
Okay.
I had a lot of fun touring with that band for that time. It was we got to do, like, it was strange because I don't know if that kind of touring's still around anymore. I don't know. I'm not doing it. I know I got friends who are in bands with established artists.
Yep.
But she was breaking ground. She was promoting new songs. She, now we're all, heritage at our age. We're all heritage listed artists. All that. But and it's great because there's an audience there for that stuff. But it sort of becomes cover bandy again. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Whereas with Vanessa, she did give us a lot of leeway. The band, there was no musical director. We were all our own musical director. People would point to me and go, "Oh, you're the musical director of Vanessa Amorosi's band." I go, "No, I'm not." Like everyone's taking care of their own shit. Like I'm just playing the guitars.
Yeah. Well, it's good to be in a situation. You obviously had other players in that band then that, like you said, knew their shit.
Oh yeah,
and
no, it was a good band,
and just knew what had to be done.
Oh, we were
from their
we
own
were
parts,
we were all brothers. Like we were tight. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
okay.
we were, and also we were doing it for the first time together.
Yeah, right.
The first time getting off a plane in Switzerland and catching a bus down to.
Was that the same for her as well? Was that the first time she was doing it? Was it?
I think first time with a band. Yeah,
With a
she
band,
was.
right.
She'd already been slogging it out, sort of going up there doing the solo thing,
Right.
singing to a backing track. You know what I mean? But
Okay.
she's so much more, and she was so much more back then than that. Like she was a real musician.
Yeah.
She was a singer. Like she wasn't.
Yeah.
She is. I will say is. I mean, I haven't seen her in many years, but I remember standing next to that every night, just being blown away, just going, "Wow, she's hit that note again!" Like with feeling, like no backing, no trickery, none of that stuff. It was all honest, holding the microphone and singing your guts out, and as a band, we really believed in her. So we were right behind her. It was a force to be reckoned with. It was really good energy. And as you know, over the years, managements come along and they think they know better and they think, oh, why don't we do this and do that? And then they kind of try and break up the energy, like the beautiful energy that we had, and I just kind of got a bit sick of that stuff, it wasn't for me anymore. And that's when I kind of got into doing my own music. And that's when the first album came out.
Okay.
Not long after that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, for sure. So you would go off and doing that type of touring, but sort of only for yourself? If it was your music, if you could,
I would love to, and
Yeah.
I really want to work towards that. It's kind of funny, like, you know, over the years you go and you might speak to a professional counselor about maybe some issues that you might have in your life, and then they kind of ask you that question. They sort of say, well, what if you could do anything, what would you be doing right now?
Yep.
And it's like, I would be writing my own music and touring it.
Mm.
Why aren't you doing that? Because it's really hard.
Yeah, yeah.
It's hard to do that. Like, I don't know if anyone likes what I do. You know, is there a market for it? And then all the subordination, the doubts, you know, come creeping in. You start thinking, you know, oh, well, you know, it might be easier to just hide behind the fact that I'm not good enough.
Well, that's that's bullshit, because
Yeah, right.
because
I
you
know.
know,
Yeah.
you know it too, and I personally, I think you're world class. The people that I've talked to, and I've talked to Phil a fair bit about you too, because we were supposed to do this. It actually the day your friend passed away, we were supposed to do this, and you sent me a message, and and leading up to that, I'd talked to Phil, and we'd been talking about, and he was sharing his thoughts on you, and we were kind of, you know, bouncing stuff, and
He's
you
biased.
just sorry, what's that?
He's biased. He's my mate. He has to say nice things about me.
I paid him too. No, but you know, I think you know, why aren't you out there more in front of the world? You know, why haven't you? I mean, because you're world class, man. You're up there with the best. I think. So you got to try and do what you can, and
I think with this record, it's almost like I'm relaunching myself to, you know, have another little crack at sort of getting out there, and, you know, I'd like to get out there and play shows and all that sort of stuff. Now, I've made a completely ridiculous record to try and replicate all that, but you know, there are other ways around it as well.
Yep.
With the electronica side of it,
Yep.
You know, I can actually, like, yeah, my fiance's a DJ, and we've been talking about actually maybe doing a show together.
Yep.
You know, where I might do a remix of some of the stuff that's on this record and extend it a little bit longer. You know what I mean? Like, kind of have it at a club. You know, which is a far cry from what I've always done. You know, I've always been a muso kind of thing.
Gotcha.
Now I'm sort of branching out into other stuff that I really like. It doesn't all have to be super complicated.
No, you know? Right. You're right.
Yeah, like the feeling. It's funny. The more popular tunes that I get told that people dig of mine are usually the ballads, you know, or the atmospheric-y stuff, or the, you know, like, it's not necessarily the tech, crazy kind of choppy kind of things, you know. So, but I do them for me.
You do them for you, yeah.
I do them all. They're all. I don't really think of other people while I'm doing it. I just kind of go head first in, do it, and see what comes of it. And then if I can kind of make myself happy, you know, if I write the music that I want to listen to, then I think I'll be okay. You know, I think my own personal barometer. You know,
yeah. I like that idea too. You're saying your fiance is doing the sort of the imagery and the little videos and and I think I cut you off there when you were talking about that, because I said, well, yeah, I've been listening to it on my head. You either listen to it in your headphones and you sit back and immerse yourself, or you can watch it. But you can't just watch something like that. There has to be an audio element to it, you know. That's
right, exactly. And sometimes even with the visuals, they're not. Again, it's not super complicated, but it invokes the emotion of whatever that piece is. So she's really good at it. She's not like, she's sort of learning as she goes as well, but she's got a really good ear and she's got a really good eye. You know, she works in design and stuff like that. So that's her gig, you know. And I'm like the dag, you know what I mean? I'm sort of, you know what I mean? It's like, why does it have to, everything have to be look amazing? Why can't it look cheap and shitty?
Yeah.
That's me.
But
she's great because she actually kind of really sort of reins it in for me and goes, all right, I think we should do this, and that. And she's never wrong. That's the weird thing. That's the bit that kind of shits me. It's like, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Yes, I understand.
Yeah,
and she's right. She just, but even like, even things as simple as the front cover, you know what I mean? Like she did all the graphic design. So my sister did the artwork. Okay. So that actual heart image that you see, my sister Susie did that. And she sent that particular piece of artwork off to the Brooklyn Museum. So that's at the Brooklyn Museum right now.
Really? Wow.
So we'll never see that original piece again unless we go there and find it.
Right.
But we got a high res digital kind of snapshot of it.
Yeah.
And my fiance did the graphic design.
Yeah.
And it's stuff that I just don't know jack shit about. I know about the music and that's about it. I can talk for days about production.
Yeah.
And pedals and all geeky, nerdy music stuff. That's my field. But graphic design and not like moving it an inch to the left. Oh, that's much better. Like, well, is it? All right, cool.
Looked all right to me.
If you say it is, then that's fine. Let's But I guess that's the purpose of collaboration. I guess it's nice.
Yeah, I mean, because I've only recently been thinking about that kind of thing for my podcast as well. Like, I've tried to do little sort of 1 minute snapshot audio type social media video things, but for me, it's just so tedious. And at the end, I don't think it looks good, where it would be cool if I could sort of get someone in, that's actually, I might send a message out to people and see if I can get someone to do that. That'd be cool. But yeah, it would just sort of take it to another level. It's same thing with your music, like.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like we're it's kind of, it's funny because, Romina, my fiance, she's got like today she texted me and said something like, hey, what if we sent your music to the Grammys, for example, right? And I'm kind of like, my first reaction is always, nah, no one's gonna. And then she's got me thinking, well, everyone had to start somewhere, right? Like if I send it to, I don't know what you would send it as, but like, maybe the album, I don't know.
Yeah.
You'd send it to them and you might get rejected the first time, but just keep sending stuff, you know what I mean? Like until you get through, right? That's what
they used to do, right?
It's pretty much what everyone does. I think she's helped me get over the potential rejection. Like I don't even care if it gets rejected by people.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually a healthy place to be.
For sure.
I actually don't care if people dig it or not. You know what I mean? Like it's good. And then, I've been very lucky actually. It's been really nice. Like it got released a week ago, like last Sunday.
Yep.
And I've got a lot of family and friends and colleagues and in the industry and all that stuff. And everyone's kind of been really, really getting behind this one. It's kind of feels really nice.
Oh, good on you. You deserve it. It is really good. It really is.
Well, even being here with you, like I know we talked about doing this last year, but I think it's so much better that we're here now because I actually have something to talk about. Last year I would have been talking about, what TV shows I was watching. You know what I mean? Like,
we would have been talking about. So you're still in lockdown, hey?
You're still in lockdown, hey? In Melbourne? Yeah,
you got the record, haven't you? You got a record, And I'd be saying, because I'm in Sydney. Oh, we got a record too. We got the most cases now. Like it'd be that, hey.
Very depressing podcast.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man. So non-essential arteries. So where can people get that?
Yeah, right. Well, it's on all the when I say all, it's on most of the sort of popular streaming platforms like Spotify, Apple Music. You can buy it on iTunes. You can also buy it on Bandcamp. And I was talking about Bandcamp earlier. That one actually, most of that sort of, if you're wanting to support an artist, check out their Bandcamp and you know, purchase it from there. You can preview from everything. If you've got a what you would call it, a subscription to Spotify or yeah, it's all readily available on that. You can even go to YouTube if you really want to check it out. So I've made it as readily available as I possibly can.
Yep.
For most people to check out. So yeah, you can just type in my name into any of those.
Yeah, I'll put a link in the show notes.
Oh, beautiful.
Yep,
yeah,
cool.
That'd be great. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, man.
Thanks.
Marcel, it's been awesome talking to you, man. I'm glad we finally got to do this. And
thanks, Steve. Thank you.
like I said, I really enjoy the new album as much as I enjoyed the last album. I wish you all the best with it. And yeah, man, do your best to get it out there in the world. And yeah.
Well, hopefully I've won some people over today. You know. Yeah.
Well, we'll see with the politics thing.
Yeah. I'll have to edit that bit out.
Well, that's my fault. Okay, so you know, still go get the album. That was all my fault. Yeah.
I love it. That's great. No, thanks, Steve. Thanks for having me. It's
sweet.
Great to finally talk to you.
Yeah, man. Cool.
Cheers,
all right,
brother.
Marcel. Take it easy, bro.
Thank you so much.
See you, man. Bye.